It's recording, and we're gonna go
Welcome.
live. Do I go live? Well,
Yes.
all right. And 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're live.
Welcome to Angora Poets World Cafe and our week 4 of doing the Zoom room and who's zooming who. Um, I hope you enjoy and appreciate the gallery of gifted writers and performance artists that we present to you every week. And my name is Mo Seeger, and this is Mohammed Anis. We are your sort of co-anchors, facilitators for this, and we welcome you. All right. So my job is to ask some people I haven't seen for a while, as I like to do, for instance, with Isabel Lorien. Isabel, hello. And where in the world are you at tonight?
Sorry,
Where in the world are you tonight?
I am in southwest of France, up
Okay.
Toulouse. I am in the full countryside, in the middle of nowhere. I saw
So,
nobody since 2 months. I'm happy to see you.
okay.
I saw no
And what?
one.
Okay.
Hello, Isabel.
Horses, hens, geese.
Yes, we have some Angora poets checking in. Then also, as we mentioned earlier, we have this woman from NOLA, from New Orleans, who
Yes,
signed on
but
as
let me
Albany.
just, can I just clear up that I'm on Albie's site? I'm using
Okay.
his Zoom, but I am Jane Spoken Word.
Oh, well, how about that, Jane,
All
Jane, the
right,
jazz poet. All right,
that's
Jane.
me.
And Roxanne was here with us earlier, Jack, and I don't see her at the moment. But okay, so let's carry on here. Oh, there's Roxanne.
It's Roxanne.
Okay, so we have a nice, potent stable of participants. So I would like to know which one of you would like to go first this evening.
I can go first.
Okay.
Okay, well, here we go. All right, so and do me a favor, just remember that if you will mute while someone is presenting, then
Word.
your fellow artist will have the exclusive audio. Or you can mute us if you like, Mo.
All right. So this is one piece that is called Homage. She sees something whole in the blankness, pressing wrist and pen tip in a soul-searching dance on paper. There's a conductor in the back of her cranium making waltz out of tone-deaf instruments. The Colosseum must have imitated her neck posture because it was broken, though you can still see clouds pouring through, and it was poetry. It was words. It was what she was when her eyes were closed. I imagine her imaginings. Imagine that. Her sense of duty, or her sense of identity, a non-stop bullet train, praying one day her brain could take notes from her feet on standing still. Praying that her heart could write in ways that are legible. That destiny gave her signs instead of instruction manuals on how to breathe. Or perhaps know when she was reading too much into it. She woke up at the train stop, fumbling for whatever traces left of the dream that took her here. Her mind's eye wide open, fighting light blotches as it chased for a fleeting inspiration that once burned like a Christmas tree. The train conductor coaxed her off, but she wrote. People at the terminal pushed her, but she wrote. She missed a step down the stairway, but she wrote. Next to the dream that led her here, the poem was a husk, now buried in a graveyard that posed as a notebook. But if the dead taught her anything, paying homage to that which is fleeting is almost as good as living. Yeah.
Well, do you have another one to follow that, Mo?
Sure. I have a very, very short one. A brown checkered bag sits in the terminal, sad from the way it handles from the way that its handles looked slumped against its bloated sides. It was luggage packed with too many memories, coerced into a knee-bumping dance with its carrier. It got worse on the conveyor belt, worse on the bumpy ride towards the airplane, worse when it was crammed with the rest. Must be nice to be a sentient with lips, it thought. At least when motion sickness hits, they'd have an orifice to relieve themselves with. So...
That was short and sweet. And as we say, do you have number three's a charm?
All right, three's a charm. Okay, so I'm going to end it with one of my newer favorites. If Frankenstein wrote a poem instead, a prose from the bones of his closet, maybe it'll be the meaning the monster wished he had. His heart must have been a faucet for trauma, or maybe trauma was a faucet for his heart. Maybe stitching limbs into a sad monstrosity was easier. After all, a poem can sometimes resemble a soul too much. Hitler dreamed of being a painter. It was easier to wage world war and exact genocide than give life to a white canvas. Had he written stanzas, he'd probably see the reflection the mirror never showed him before it was too late. Hate is the cheapest commodity a soul can buy to make sense of things. A twisted declaration of self-love attempting to spin itself into the shape of a heart that disfigured itself, configured itself to a fidgeting shelf of lives it tells itself. She was the pages Frankenstein could have written on. He was the canvas Hitler could have painted on. Hate is an emptiness that shaped itself into the ghost the artists were never honest enough to see in themselves. Give a virus the pen of fate we've been tempting for too long, and watch it re-articulate the designs of neglect men are too afraid to admit. Like COVID-19, while the world bands together to usurp a world menace, remember how dolphins and swans swam back to Venice, how a clear sky hurried back to China like the father kicked out by his prodigal sons, or how a son finally got to see his father up close. Give a virus a pen and they'll make a poem out of all of you, shoving your New Year's resolution list down the shredder, reminding you of a world full of consequences, making you second-guess second chances, even the man you voted for in the elections. The coronavirus is laughing at your makeshift toilet rolls made of your CVS receipts, terrorizing supermarkets more than the kids you feared crossing the borders. If Frankenstein wrote a poem, maybe he could have found love instead. If Hitler painted a painting, who knows?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bravo, let's give him a hand, huh? Okay. That was good. Thank you, Mo. Thank you very much.
Pretty profound.
Thank you.
That was great, Mo. That was great.
Thank you. Thank you.
He so often has his poems already ready to present. Would that be agreeable to you, Jersey Bill Strangmeyer?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Well, give it a go, Bill.
Okay. I'm going to start with a long one, but, well, okay. Anyway, it's called An Ear for Cesar Jimenez. In the morning, the matadors draw lots, crossing themselves and kissing the crucifix, beseeching the Virgin, please bring me grace. Kids, just kids. They look 15 or 12. Unrolling little paper balls to read their macho fates, thinking about the courage of the bull amid their entourage of older men. And with that word, that feminist curse, one should not think of Roberto Duran, who once knocked out a horse, so much as a kid who hopes she really loves him. Juxtaposition of the old and the new, of the classic and the cheap, of the lofty and the low, make a feria bloom in a grubby little town, a large, well-tended village. South of the choppy waters the Parisians covet, mid pine woods with palm tree grace notes to remind us of Spain. And hard by the arena glow the games and the rides where the children fish for ducks, the emblem. It's a concrete arena of the seams of the underside mounting toward the hills, upside down, inside out. It's just another cheap metaphor, easy to hand for a primitive's God, for God and his wonderful world. From below, just cheap stained ersatz rock, but from outside we cannot see the spectacle, bloody, gay, and ritual offered up to his eyes. No, no, this is about a life where some things can be won and some can be redeemed. The picador, booed for twisting the pike on the first charge, is cheered on the second for calling the bull to him and then stopping him neat. An odd thing, the bull, this beast, this fauve, as they say, in repose like a chunky and ill-made plastic toy, a clumsy male cow too tough for beef, but how streamlined and ferocious in his charge. One bearded poseur called the horse's comic relief. A sort of joke it was then in that dopey, naive era to die without dignity. But look, there, when the bull falls over, trying to gore, and the blindfolded nag trots off with its armor still there on its left side, thinking placidly, is that a fly or a mosquito? They're bigger this year. A dying bad toro falls into the shade, and the guy behind me says, he's a little tired, maybe he needs a drink. A joke about its cowardice, that fearsome word. After the picadors, the peons planting the bandieras with their journeyman way, still flickering, brilliant and lithe, scampering round to stop that mountain with horns. But duller than the kid, anything else would be lèse-majesté. And on this somewhat sluggish afternoon, the underlining bandas in chorus back and forth can hardly deign to dance with the dancers or the bull with its sluggish, earthbound ire. A flurry of horns and the popinjay kid sneers at death. He mocks the bull, turning him here and then swirling the cape and then placing him there. But the steering's stiff and hard, and it can happen so quick, you miss the shot. Ragdoll on the horns. Is his life over? And his life as a man? All of it pierced and running out red? The sand is invaded. The swirling pink draws off the bull. The boy is carried off. Silence. Silence. Quick whispers. Silence. Doctors. Is he standing? He shakes his head. He comes strutting out to an explosion of joy. Loud music and cheers, Veronicas galore as he handles the bull in his blood-smeared suit of lights, avenging his bruises, the affront that he fell and wearing the blood of the bull. The kill is quick and clean, and his sigh of relief amid the swirl of tourist handkerchiefs, and they award him an ear for his courage and youth, and because they want an ear today. And the bull, the brute, the beast, raging nobly to the end, in combat, not in a factory, a male, a force, and not a glob of meat, though in the end dragged out by the tinkling whip-crapped mules, to be hung from a rack by 1 foot like Hector, but awaiting the wine-dark festival sauce, marinated but still tough as cuisine follows drama, as cuisine follows the history of life, daubed taureau, food for the aficionado, broad and mustachioed, big napkin round his neck, soul elated and somber no more. I would now discuss the cruelty, but only with a vegetarian in non-leather shoes, owning no big fed from the animal factory dog in a city. If not, go pout in your vacation home in a new cut wood on which you print your silly, senseless make-believe romance. Pretend an understanding of the beauty in our blood. Pretend to know the life of this world, this raging world. Pretend to love the fragile structures haunted by fire and fear. For that's what you are. And a broken tube here and a short circuit there, and the love machine goes pop and blood goes all over the brain. There are 2 noble sports, fighting and the bulls, with such great art and heart, art to see and heart to face the river of blood that is life, though neurosis and coddling can make us blind to the savage rage that moves and guides and trains the world and informs our minds and souls and the way we live. And in a town, one rides the train, head held in one hand as if offered down to death, with glazed and frightened gaze into the middle air. My hearing and my mind, so weak the both, and no one here to hear, and none permit approach. It was not always thus. They wanted me to come, alive, alive and fair. The nose was smaller too. What had I done so bad that life should cast me out? But sometimes you understand all of the song, and sometimes the music is all that you get. Thank you.
Okay, Bill.
Powerful.
All right. That you you recalling me what happened some decades ago. Hemingway went to Spain to praise the bullfights, and then Richard Wright went to Spain to condemn the bullfight, and that divided a lot of opinions among a lot of readers.
Yeah,
So thank you.
The thing is that people who are against the bullfights fail to take into account what the people who love them are thinking about. It's the same thing that won Trump the victory, sneering at other people.
Okay, well now, you stated your case. Thank you very much. And because of the length of it, I'm going to give you ding, ding, ding. That was 3 times the charm all in one. And
Okay.
we will call you back so that we can get some other voices in within what we think is a reasonable period of time and go for a second round, which you are surely going to be back on. Okay? Don't shoot the messenger. All
No,
right.
that's fine. Well, that's fine.
Okay, thanks, Bill. Because you're bigger than me. Hey, so I'd like to call next someone who I think is usually prepared when I ask him, and that would be Jack Cooper. Jack, are you prepared to present?
Jack, you got your mic muted. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it's it's Mother's Day, right?
Yeah, it is.
And that puts me on the spot because I'm the father of 2 children, but I'm estranged from their mother. You know what I mean? So, but nevertheless, I thought I would come up with something that I wrote for their mother.
Now, before you begin, I'm just going to ask us all to restrain from sending messages up so that we can give our attention to the reader and not follow a message board. Okay, let's give our attention to the reader.
I was naked in my dream, you said, and so very vulnerable. Thus, to teach thee, I am naked first, heart in hunger, soul in thirst. My arm outstretched shall make a pillow for your head. I would flush from thee such prodigies of fruit would make the angels tremble, the dryads blush, and Cybele quit her throne in heaven. And you would draw from me such speech as only the beautiful know, and take from me such munificent ease as only from the beautiful flows. The ideal beauty of the stars, the loveliest of faces in the lightning's afterglow. For thou art that which like the moon doth reign in shadow, illuminating all things glorious and true. And like the moon, I glimpse in you a radiance whose outward edges are the world. Your brown eyes, wide as planets, large as other worlds, and all that darkly glows behind them I acknowledge. In the silence of my soul, I keep a shrine known only to you and I, and which no habitual frenzy can defile. Its portals, high as honor, sacred as our word, broad as our desire, and open wide, and the reverence long that through its porticos will file, worships gently from now on.
Well, happy Mother's Day, Jack.
Yeah,
You have a second one for us?
I do actually. Yeah. So I just, then go on to the fruit of this intention. It's called Her 13, and I wrote it for my daughter. Abreast of every moment unspent with friends, she reads, a blossom quiet, inclined on moss. Hear the source that feeds her, seeking fluently apart, secret, passion, petaled girl, furled, moist, amid this clarity of all goes flowing. A voice calls.
All right.
All right.
Thank you for that voice call.
Okay.
Okay. Can you come up with Three's a Charm?
I can, in fact.
Well, do in fact.
All right. So this is actually one that I wrote for my son. And it's called On the Levee. And it has it's dated 23rd of October, which is the birthday of John Keats, 2010. He wasn't born in 2010, but I wrote it in 2010. It goes, hold on, see if I can work this out. I think I have to, I just want to be able to scroll when the time comes. And I'm sorry, this shit is coming up here. Okay. What is it? Okay, I'm just going to read it here. I'm sorry, I'm just, I'm having trouble. I'm reading it off the screen this time. Okay. On the levee. The still pool downriver of a continent sinks, divided like me. Inevitable its slide, driven to some indeterminate edge, emptying into the sea. Extent of mountains am I become, equivalent to avalanche, east crossing west, a rampart loosed and loss of agency carries all self before, resistless on the tide. Barge, burden, assimilative, slow, steady, unceasing, the only perceptible motion. Eglantine for Junket's birthday. Silent watcher, waits by the side, but barely wavers. Rife with barbecue, the air propitiates the god of warm afternoon. Trophy hung, Spanish moss in clouds of thought preserves the shade beneath the live oak calm. The football tossed back and forth from father to son, the bat and glove and ball, the dragonfly struck by the sun, our joys forever ceased. And mine, my boy, now grown, apart at a distance. I think I'm missing. No, the college, oh wait. Just wait, hold on. Oh yeah, okay. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And mine, my boy, now grown apart at a distance, confers with his friend, who too has known him since childhood. We have traveled far to see the college she attends. Between the artist and the being human have I had to choose, and so always split my time. But time runs on. Journey the soul conceives, the mind must chart, fearing to lose whatever it had hoped to gain and does, momentarily, only partially aware both those ends meet, become simultaneous, waking one day alone to find what has been made. Renunciation in art does not equal abandonment, nor abandonment need ravage from the start. Into Ken, reconciliation will flow. Every mercy survive in gratitude, and the I let go experience blind. Thank you.
All right, all right. Thank you
And
very much.
sorry for the interruption. And I got on here through Facebook, and so I'm getting these Facebook things.
Well, you must be a busy man, Jack. All right.
Well, yeah, you know.
I wanted to ask first-time participant Judith Robb, did you come tonight to present something, Judith?
Unmute.
Okay.
Judith, we can't hear you. Could you unmute yourself? There's a button on the bottom left. I think it says unmute.
She did, but her sound is still not there. She was moving her mouth, and you couldn't hear anything.
Can you hear us, Judith?
Yeah, she can hear us, but we can't hear her. It's unfortunate.
Well, we are wishing that you'll hook up with with your audio, with your speaker, so that we can invite you on. Okay.
Maybe Judith, if you leave the room and come back in, maybe it'll work this time. Try leaving and coming back.
Get out.
Did I hear her for a second?
No, you heard me.
Oh, okay. I heard Al. Okay,
Get
I
up
heard
and
Jan.
leave the
Okay, I heard Jane. Okay.
Out of here.
So Judith, if you can leave the room and come back. Yeah. Okay. There we go.
She's out.
Okay. Well, all right. So what I would like to do now, then, okay. So I would like to ask Christopher to come on, and I would like him to be followed by Roxanne. Are you with us, Roxanne? So, Christopher, are you prepared to come on?
Yeah, I'm good, man.
Well, I know you're good, so come on with it.
Hey, man, I try to be all the time, man, all the time.
That's
So,
it.
yeah, this is a brand new piece. I wrote it a couple of days ago, and I shared it on Facebook, and I think I'm going to record it. Well, I am going to record it so it can also be heard. I'm one of those poets where my pieces are cool on paper, on the screen, but they need to be heard too. So I'm going to record this, maybe even tonight or this evening. This is entitled "How Much Is a Black Man's Life Worth?" And I wrote this for Ahmaud Arbery, who was shot and killed in Brunswick, Georgia. Unfortunately, how much is a black man's life worth in the United States, especially when white men can create at any time lies about who and what we are, who and what we are? How much is a black man's breath worth when even in the streets of his own neighborhood, he is seen as being up to no good? How much does a black man's existence cost after his life is lost? Is his soul even worth the 10-minute segment on the national news after millions of us start again singing the blues, singing the blues? How much is a black man's body worth dead in the street, lifeless, unconscious, defeated, deleted, executed by ruthless white men who can get away with anything they feel at will? How much is a black man's life worth when his mother arrives at the mortuary and the ancestors call him back home? They've called him back home. How much more tragedy needs to be shown regarding the lives of black men before the madness comes to an end, comes to an end? How much are we worth to white allies, accomplices, justice groups, activists, and organizers when another fallen black male's name causes us much more outrage and pain, outrage, pain? How much is a dead black man worth to the authorities who have failed to protect us, consistently neglected us, and have also stereotyped and profiled us? How much is a black man's life worth in the United States when this country's legacy is built on black death and hate? And that's that piece. Thank you. And I got a new one bubbling in me too about that particular ordeal, and I'll probably write that today because as soon as I get the ideas for something, then I got to get to them. So,
Well, are you prepared to give us a second poem right now?
yes, sir. Yeah.
Oh, good. All right.
This is entitled "Johnny Lost His Job," and this piece I've actually had recorded at Jazz Music. And when I sit down in my living room and I'm watching the news and I'm seeing these insane unemployment rates in the United States, it makes me think about this poem. Johnny lost his job to downsizing, to greed, to the speed of need, to taxes, to too many unapproved corporate faxes. Johnny lost his job. To a third world nation, to the cost of inflation, Johnny lost his job. Johnny lost his job during the Bush administration, right after the Enron debacle, when losing one's job seemed quite possible, is when Johnny lost his job. Johnny sang the blues when he got the news. Confused, he went straight to his boss's office, counting the company's losses. Mr. Man lost it. Johnny, get the hell out of here. Johnny's pride and his pension disappeared. Johnny lost his job. Johnny lost his job after he regained one in the current recession. The second Great Depression had hurt the second life. Second job was such a blessing, such a blessing. Johnny lost his job, this time working on a Chrysler assembly line. No one told him before that Chrysler was losing its place, about to stop lines and shut doors. Johnny's jaw sank to the floor. Johnny lost his job to competition, to foreign auto manufacturers' vision, because American manufacturers didn't listen to an ugly but unpredictable system. Johnny lost his job. Baby needs new shoes, mama needs a new coat. He voted for Obama, but where is the hope? Now he sobs, things feel so odd. What is he going to do these days? Unemployment barely pays a livable wage. Johnny lost his job. Johnny lost his job. Johnny lost his job. And that's that piece.
You remind me of a phrase that regained popularity under the Bush administration. It was called "last hired, first fired."
I can dig that, man.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's yeah. Okay, so you have a third one. Three is a charm, Christopher.
Three is a charm. Yeah, let me. This is for all the women on the planet, and I think I've shared this piece here. This is entitled "Sacred Woman." You arrived here into this hemisphere many millennia ago for miles beyond the moon's mist. Legend has it that one breath from your bosom could break the cycle of man and bring rebirth. Woman, you are of the earth and every element of the universe. For what reason would any man want to harm, violate, or degrade you? Only a fool would tamper with your treasure. The wind without end sings sonnets to pay homage to your pricelessness of bliss. You are a woman of the wonderfulness of shining stars. Afar into the galaxy one could only find gifts that would equate your divine sunshine. Christopher Donchell Sims' poetry could never be powerful enough. Roses don't possess enough regality. Diamonds lack the luster needed, and gold doesn't have enough gleam to honor you, Miss Supreme. You are the shadow of the unspoken spirits that manifest life. You are the shadow of the unspoken spirits that manifest life. The secret of the sun, the whisper of the night. Thank you. It's my time.
Thank you very much, Christopher. All right. Let's hope Johnny gets a job. Hey now.
The whisper of the night. Yeah.
Mm, and a few million other people get their jobs back. Okay, so we were next to invite Roxanne Hoffman and the Poets Wear Prada publisher. So Roxanne, are you ready to go on?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm gonna do prose. I'm just warning not poetry today, but they're short. So in honor of Mother's Day, I'm actually gonna read a little. This is my actual first recollection. So I'm gonna read that, and it's called Mount Rushmore. Let me see how my little angel is doing today. Oh, she's asleep. Granny's voice drifts off. She's doing fine. Kicked off her blanket again, Mom whispers, carefully mouthing the words as she reaches in to tuck the blanket around me. I hear Dad's familiar footsteps march into the room. My eyes open and I start to focus. Mom is at my right side, leaning over me, still fussing with the bedding. My eyes catch hers. She takes my right hand. My fingers tightly wrap around her index finger. Mom smiles into my eyes and murmurs to me, as if to a lover, "Mi muñeca." Dad is standing triumphant at the foot of my crib, proudly pointing out his progeny to his parent. He holds up the formula bottle, still wrapped in a towel like a trophy for me to see. Granny sneaks a peek at my left. Her eyebrows are raised in half circles above her eyes, with her mouth pursed but slightly open. Their three huge faces form a living, breathing Mount Rushmore. Everything clearly under control. I yawn and go back to sleep, still grasping my mother's finger.
Well, that was short and sweet. Can you follow that with a second one?
Yes, I can.
Please do.
Okay, so let's see. Hang on, I think I can. Give me 1 second.
She thinks she can. She thinks she can.
She was falling. She was falling, compact, head tucked down with arms hugging knees pressed tight beneath her chin, plunging into abyss, aware only of velocity, the howling of wind. Then the lotus opened. What had been clenched fists became open palms, fingers outstretched like fluttering fans, her arms at her sides like wings as her feet kicked out behind her. She instinctively arched her back, her belly bound toward earth, and with open eyes, she became a bird. As the flowering red silks of her red kimono billowed across her back and tickled her arms, she became a kite, soaring on a breeze, and as her third eye opened, she closed her still tearing eyes and breathed in the clarifying air of sky. And as her physical eyes blinked open and her still burning lungs exhaled, she dared to look down at what awaited. The light at first was blinding. All she saw was glowing white light, and then emerald greens, and sparkling blues came into focus as flocks of birds glided by, her breath slowing and deepening as she became more aware with every inhale, every exhale of the living beauty of the world below her. And she thought, this is what it means to be free. This is bliss. And she wondered why she had not seen it before, then thought maybe she had, lifetimes ago, but just simply had forgotten, as glimpses of all the happy moments in her life materialized and vanished one by one.
It unmuted. Thank you, Roxanne. And do you have threes a charm?
Yes, I do.
Oh, well, charm us.
Hang on. Hang on. Oh no, what's it doing? The computer has a life of its own. I'm so sorry.
Okay. While you're searching, I want to welcome Sam. Hello, Sam. You're here with us. Can you unmute and say hello?
Hey, how are you?
Okay. You looked a little sleepy when you were on screen. Do you have
I
something?
didn't know that. It was, yeah, that's too bad because I'm fasting and I did a lot of work today. So I
Okay.
just wanted to sleep before I break my fast, but the poetry was on and I was like, I really need to be online before it.
Okay. Do you have something to present for us this evening?
Maybe not tonight, maybe next week. I'm really tired today.
Well, maybe one of your excellent poems will rejuvenate you tonight.
Maybe. Okay, I'll try to do a quick one right now if you want.
Um, well, we were waiting. Can you wait till Roxanne finishes her last poem and do
Of
your quick one?
course. Of course.
Okay, we'll be waiting for you, and thank you for that. Okay, back to Roxanne, please.
Okay. A half hour too early for an appointment with Dr. Lowe, killing time on a park bench, half facing the duck pond, half bitching to a throbbing shoulder, unsuccessfully trying to distract myself from dull pain and each forever second before relief. I was zoning in and out on a cute young Asian couple. They were giggling, squeezed side by side, sticking out tongues and waving selfie sticks, posing again and again by the pond. Against the panoramic backdrop of summertime Central Park, lush and green, the ever-present New York skyline looming underneath a spectacularly blue sky, when my purview was interrupted by yards of fluttering aqua silk that seemed to endlessly billow as it trailed its owner. The blue-gray swing coat seemed vintage, maybe from the 40s, oversized, cut long, and with thick padded shoulders it appeared more fortress than simply coat or eccentric fashion statement. It swung well below the wearer's knees, stopping just short enough to display a dancer's trim ankles and partially reveal a pair of shapely calves. Her Mary Janes with their dainty kitten heels were cherry red. The back of her brunette head was partially masked by a classic schoolgirl bonnet, wide-brimmed, cream-colored straw with a navy blue ribbon. It had escaped the top of her head and was dancing on her back. She had pulled off the scarf and was tucking it into a side pocket, I imagined for safekeeping, before resettling the hat to the top of her head, bracing it with a hand and revealing what appeared to be a stunning piece of art jewelry, protruding from her neck like the quills of some great porcupine. But hers appeared to be solid gold, and their constant glittering that breezy, sun-filled early summer day made me blink more than usual, even for such a day. As she strolled down the path, the 14-carat spine shivered and shimmered, and with every step she took, I shuddered, recalling my first encounter with Dr. Lowe's long, glistening steel acupuncture needles, and my initial trepidation for what proved to be painless, despite my rising panic before each insertion. The pain in my shoulder, from which her scarf and coat had initially distracted me, began to escalate. So abruptly reminded of my pending appointment, I shook off the memory and the pain as I checked my watch. I was relieved that only a few minutes had transpired, for in spite of my shoulder, of which I had now become keenly aware, I was curious to know the stranger and to learn more of her glittering adornment and its provenance, and perhaps at any cost.
Well,
Nice.
all right. So it goes with prose. We, of course, invite prose and singing and comedy. And so you're right on time with that. Thank you, Roseanne. Now, I would like to check in with two people who were off audio. Judith, did you get back on audio?
Still muted.
You're gonna okay. Still, I'm not sure what to
Hey.
do.
May I ask if Isabel can get back on audio? Isabel Lorion. Isabel,
Yes, yes.
à toi, s'il te plaît. Voila. Okay, so you're going to be coming on, Isabel. I just wanted to confirm that you could come on.
Yeah,
Very
okay.
nice. So now I would like to, since someone woke up, we want to catch her while she's here, an Angora poet and a poet about town in Paris. So uh, come on, Sam, Semaher, come on and give us one of your poems.
Hello, I haven't been writing in a really long time, so I will just read one of the last ones I wrote. Laid to rest my wounds and be gone my sorrow. Even if you are seen, no one feels the length of life's broken arrow. For only kindness may revive one's strength. So lay to rest my wounds and be gone my sorrow. The madness and the wailing times will pass. A candle to burn in order to give them light. You may blow the winds of nothingness out of sight. Lay to rest my wounds and be gone my sorrow. For a heart is to be carved into a temple of beauty, and a life is to turn empty space into a melody. The deepest well of pain may be filled with water too. Lay and be gone on the ground. On the ground, one may prostrate to get through. There is a splendor of existence, of lights, shadows, and smells, and the magic of life is eternal. So what with a bit of darkness too? I love you. So lay to rest and love me too. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we disturb you for a second piece, a second read?
A second read. Okay,
Now
let
that
me.
you're awake, which is our job to provoke you sleeping poets.
All right, I'll just read just the next one after it. I don't know which one will it be. Okay, there we go. Like the stream of a thirsty river, like a shadow casting on the sun, like a dream forming during sleep, like arriving somewhere after a long way. Spring doses were filling the air while you, my enticing lover, brushed my hair. Every step takes time quietly, for one beauty is destined for every lover. It is not returnable from the roads I go, nor from the feelings I've come to show. And I am destined to carry with me a load. In all the ways I can, while I can, I'm loving you. Even though I'm not coming tonight, I'm loving you. It isn't all right, it isn't fair, it is requited even though about each other we definitely care. Life is for living and loving indeed, and is meant to help us sometimes to rightly bleed. You may to the warnings pay no heed, 'cause in this moment it is each other that we need. Your touch, your voice, your breath are going, but you're going before them all, behind a wall. Then where am I going if I let this befall? I want you, not half of you, but all your soul. I don't own you, I just want you to want me whole. The ones who leave do not return. Do you really want my being to burn? For one gets used to anything in time. But wouldn't that, to my heart, be a crime? I'm loving you, though I can't give you more. Darling, it is hurting my core to give, to take advantage, and just be a tale while watching you sail. I'm loving you. I can't give you more. It is hurting my core knowing there are others you will easily adore, and my existence you will one day ignore. I'm loving you, but I can't give you more.
That, wow. I'd like to receive something like that. I may not be the only one who would like to receive something that heartfelt. All right. Romantic poems are in, baby. They are in. Okay. Do you have a third? As we say, do you have three
No,
as a charm, Sam?
actually, I need to go break my fast. It's time. I really want to eat. So I'll
Okay.
just excuse myself.
Hey,
Thank you so much. I'll come back just right after eating.
all right, you do that, and we'll see you after you eat. Take care.
See you back.
Okay. Now, I would like to invite on now Prince McNally. Are you there, Prince? Followed by Jane Spoken Word. Okay, Prince and then Jane, please.
Prince, I believe you got your microphone muted. At the bottom left, there should be an yeah, there you go. You good.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see what we got. Oh, wow, that was beautiful. Let's see what I can come up. Okay. Okay, this piece is inspired by a true story by a friend of mine who visited Brooklyn from Ohio, and she kind of suffered through an anxiety attack. It's called Butterfly Flying. I watched you as you slowly pushed your way through the temperament of your storm. I have watched you struggle. I have watched you fall and crumble to the ground. I cringed at the sound of your psyche splattering into 1,000 pieces. I could hear the rawness of your pain blaring like a trumpet against the echoes of your anxiety, its breath reeking of shame, of fear, and insecurity. It taunted you with an ever persistent mantra, a looping voice that said, "You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're not pretty enough. You're not strong enough." But I don't believe it, and nor should you, for I have watched you fall and crumble to the ground. I cringed at the sound of your psyche splattering into 1,000 pieces, succumbing to the will of your fears, and I have watched you rise as you gathered those shattered pieces, putting yourself together again. You turned the corner by turning a deaf ear to those whispering shadows. It may not have been pretty, but I have watched you in complete awe and amazement as you faced your storms head on, tackling life's most difficult maze, filled with obstacles that swallowed you whole in waves of blue ocean, forcing you to sink or swim. And despite all your fears, you've managed to swim those waves. It may not have been pretty. In fact, it was quite painful to watch you struggle, to watch you grow through those heavy bouts of pain, fear, and uncertainty. You turned a deaf ear to your anxiety, and at every corner, at every turn, until you could no longer hear its whispers, until your pulse stopped racing, until you were able to breathe easy again. I still remember that summer day in Brooklyn, when I watched you return victorious like a warrior from battle, slowly making your way down Fifth Avenue. You were tired, bruised, and battered, your back hunched over, your spirit quite sunken. You've gone through the fire, and yet you remained unbroken. I wish I could have seen you, you could have seen your victory that day. I wish I could have given you a hero's welcome of victory's parade down Fifth Avenue with a marching band marching with horns, blaring, drummers strumming, people cheering amidst falling confetti. For just when you were defeated, your courage kicked in, conquering your fear. You pushed through your darkness and reached for the stars, grabbing victory by its tail. You remind me of a cocooned caterpillar who has transcended its pain and discovered its wings. But now, my dear friend, you are a beautiful butterfly. Fly in peace.
Some kind of metamorphosis. All right. You have a second one for us, Prince.
Yes, I do. Okay.
Fifth Avenue will do that.
This piece is called 1,000 Kisses from Nowhere. 1,000 kisses from nowhere, she finds herself walking barefoot in the rain, taking that lonely walk of shame, tasting the falling rain with the tip of her tongue as crystal-like raindrops splattered blissfully upon her lips, still a bit tipsy, clothes soaked to the bone and pantyless. Instead, she wore a small hint of regret for doing the grown and sexy on a balcony 30 floors below her waistline. For many lines have been crossed that night, and many lines were drawn with a credit card in straw, followed by several shots of tequila. That's when clarity gave way to the murky memory of her falling to her knees and crying out to God as her frightened girlfriend held her hair back, reassuring her with the most comforting words like, "Stop your crying, bitch. You ain't about to die tonight, even though it might feel like it." She then proceeded to vomit, purging her childish naivety as she humbly bowed to the porcelain god before her. In peace.
Wow.
Okay, very good. You have a three's a charm for us, Prince? Three's a charm?
Okay. I'm going to do this piece. This is a dedication to my daughter since it's Mother's Day. It's called Baby. You came crashing down from the heavens like a supernova lighting up the sky with a firestorm of stars exploding with the gifts of creativity. I could hardly believe my eyes, for you were a sight to behold as the remnants of your genius splattered upon the canvas of your mother's womb. You were on a mission, and in preparation, you meditated for 9 months in the fetal position, but you couldn't wait any longer. You couldn't wait to break out of that womb and set this world on fire. You couldn't wait to manifest your destiny, and so you came out fighting. They mistakenly thought you were crying, but no, you were screaming at the top of your lungs, "I am here, I have arrived." You were crying for revolution, putting us all on notice for change. You were going to bring about in this world, and you, my darling baby girl, had stilled my heart with those eyes, those deep, burning, soul-piercing eyes of yours. They were glistening like diamonds, and you were smiling. Yes, you were smiling at your daddy. And as I held you in my arms, for the first time, I looked into your eyes, your searching eyes, and I made you a promise that I would protect you and always be there for you. And in that moment, our souls embraced, for it was then that I became your sole possession. You, the bearer of those beautiful soul-piercing eyes, held out your baby hands, stole my heart, and wrapped me around your finger. In peace. Thank you.
Wow.
Powerful, powerful.
Wow.
There's
Wow.
and
That was
there's
beautiful.
a poem that your loving daughter can look back upon as she grows up in life from her loving father.
Word.
And that's very beautiful in and of itself,
Thank you, Daddy.
the lasting power of that poem between father and daughter. So thank you. On behalf of all of us fathers who have daughters, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so now we are going to bring on someone who has not presented for us before, but I've had the pleasure of reading her work and listening to her jazz poetry, and she is Jane Spoken Word, actually, or however you wish to introduce your name tonight, Jane, but you're on.
I am Jane Spoken Word. Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed being here and listening to all the different poets. And there's nothing better than hearing a piece in a poet's own words. So for my piece, I would like to do a piece called Mr. America. What's up, Mr. America? My kind still ain't up and died. And I be waving my freak flag high. Have you ever been experienced? Or are you still just passing time? Wasting time trying to make heaven your home? You ain't wasting time. You're killing time. Lost in the twilight zone. Lost in the dark zone. Lost in some unknown zone, sliding down this street. It's like I've been here before. I didn't want to be here from last time. Do you remember last time? This could be the last time. Running from the repo man, my thoughts he cannot have. I'm hiding from the soul stealers that beckon to me from shadows of mind, and time keeps on ticking. And time keeps on ticking, it keeps on ticking, it keeps on ticking into the past. Or is it the future? Is this the plan of men to keep us in a state of confusion? Or a murder of the mind to perpetrate the illusion? You ain't wasting time. You're killing time. Peace.
Yeah, okay. Most deaf on that. Can you
Thank
follow
you.
that with another one, Jane?
I can.
Okay, please do.
Thank you. This piece was just published in the Jack Kerouac anthology for 2019. And it's called I Am a Poet. I am a poet. I am the air that I breathe. I am the words that I think. I will take you to the brink. Don't blink. Drink it in. Poetry is revolution. Word is the sound solution for you from the institution. I am ghosting the machine. I will wake you from your dream. I am a poet. I pen lines with a stroke. I spit rhymes when I toke. Inner fires I will stoke, 'cause I ain't no joke. I am a poet. Poetry is revolution. Word is the sound solution for you from the institution. I am ghosting the machine. I will wake you from your dream. I am a poet. I float bars when I write, open doors, shine a light, free your mind, free your might. You are what you think. You think what you are. Poetry is revolution. Word is the sound solution. Free you from the institution. I am ghosting the machine. I will wake you from your dream. I will free you from their scheme. I am what I know. I am what I sow. I am revolution wrapped in a straitjacket. And I will wake you from your dream. I will wake you.
All right. Okay, Mr. Man, you've been put on notice. Nothing like a good old indictment, you know, right down the pike. Do you have a third one? You know, three's a charm, Jane.
I have a third one, and I will leave you with a poem that it's Mother's Day. And as my son says to me every Mother's Day, don't you know, Ma? Every day is Mother's Day. So this is from my son. If I were the junk man in junkie land, cleaning up all the messes that life left behind, I would paint the horizon and I would polish the moon for you alone. And I would sprinkle stardust above your dreams and fill them with waves of wonder and joy. If I were the junk man in junkie land. Peace, yo. Thank you so much for listening to my words.
Wow. Welcome on board with Angora Poets. We're glad to have you, Jane.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure. I'm loving it.
Thank you, Jane.
Stay with us. Okay, so as we get near the end of round one, which our singer, Jean, will finish for us with a song, I'd like to call on Isabella Lorient, an Angora poet here in Paris. And so, Isabel, come on board, please.
Sorry, I haven't put the sound. So it's a bit long, but I will dedicate it to Nan Goldin, the great photographer, because I had news from her by France Culture. I really love the work of that woman and who she is. And she has, she's struggling with this fucking addiction with, you know, medicaments in USA. So that's it. So it's called Carpe Diem. I wrote it the 17th of March, beginning of the lockdown.
Give us a hint. How long do you think it is?
It's well, if it's too, it's not too long. If it's too long, you tell
Well,
it.
I'm just trying to gauge it so that everyone gets on before sunup.
Sorry?
I'm just trying to gauge the length so that everyone has a good length and not a extra long length. You know, it's a judgment call so that everyone can get on board.
Yeah, if it's too long, you just put your hand like this, okay?
Or you'll know when to end it. Whatever. Go with it. Go with it.
Okay. So it's called Carpe Diem. Have I always been this ghost, walking on a yellow land, walking with no purpose, but to kill time, and to move that heavy piece of meat, piece of white meat, that gets nervous when that stays too long on the same spot. So long, baby, I've been waiting for you. That needs to move on. Move, you gotta move. That needs to move from nowhere to anywhere. Anywhere out of my sight. From no one to anyone. Out of my fight. Have I always been this ghost, a heavy piece of tender white meat, a cannibal would enjoy to make his long pig meal? A fantasy in the mirror, a face with two holes inside, to let the light come slowly in and out, come slowly by and fro. A soul prisoner in my breast, a soul broken, from white to black ideas, from green to grey, when the
I think, is it just me or her voice froze?
Sorry?
No, we can hear her, Mo.
A head sprinkled from black to white hairs, a face troubled from waves of joy to waterfall of tears. In chain in vain I smoke, lonely butts of tobacco fall on the carpet when the curtains are closed. The cat has a purpose, he moves into the night. I hear him under my window when the last beam of the dying sun blows. The hen has a purpose. She gently sings her incessant quest. I hear her at the door when I open it at the first glow of the coming sun. Two roosters raped a little hen in a crazy corner yesterday. I had to gather all the hens and I organized a special hen meeting. I told them to never part from their sisters, to walk by 4 at least. And I lent them a computer. They launched the hashtag #MeToo. In all the villages around, there is a free hen movement going. They give their eggs for nothing, but they reclaim respect and accomplishment. The sun has a purpose. By my window, he caresses my exhausted body when I rest on the sofa. And I slowly read a book from the 19th century. In his hot rays, I suddenly slumber, and I forget my memory, and I wave in the empty avenues of the mind, in an empty, silent world. My shadow slowly slides with no purpose at all. All the windows, at the windows, stranger pair of eyes peer inside the mystery. I carry the seat of death, my face hidden under a white veil. They think that I come for them to announce the end. The end is the beginning we all long for. The police sirens resound in the empty avenues of town. They are looking for me. Police looking for Jimmy Jazz, Jimmy Jazz. But he are not here. They scream. One of them is escaping. A woman with no face. A woman with no age. A woman with no name. She is the disease. I hear the bullets whistle in my back. I hear the bullets whistle in the wind. All the birds startle and start to sing again. I escaped from the city. I am scared no more. I walk on a yellow land, and I run. I'm plodding in a green paradise. The trees hold their black naked arms, branches toward the sky, imploring to the blue sky. But the sky is empty and cold. The ground is swamped with the blood of the innocent victims, and the crows chant and intone their names. In the silent countryside, over a blank, deserted land, no one will forget your crimes. Their shadows gradually disappear and melt with the dark clouds. Nobody will put flowers on their graves, anonymous poor bodies, forgotten in the flood of history. Nobody, no one, will sing the messy mass of the masticated masses of white flesh that fell on the bloody ground of the last war, the war of the ghosts. The nightfall, deep dark, the bright slim crescent of the new moon, glitter, shimmer. And so close shines the evening star. Every time that she gets so close to the moon, I know my lover will come tomorrow to take me.
Thank you. Maybe that's a great place to stop, and you can continue in the second round. So thank you.
That's fine, okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, is Nan Golden still alive?
I don't know if she can hear you, Jack.
I'm scared.
Jack, you might want to repeat that question again.
Is Isabel, is Nan Golden still alive?
Yes, she is, but she's struggling with this fucking addiction, you know, from the medicament in USA.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she's alive and she's working. She's making pictures of skies and nature. She gave up with photographing people,
Okay.
and she look at the sky every day. But she's struggling from this fucking addiction.
Wait, what do you mean she's fucking addiction? What do you mean she's?
You know, in the USA, a lot of people fell in addiction.
Yeah.
From medicament, from a laboratory, you know. So she had this, and she said she had spent a lot of times in the dark, and now she's out, and she makes activism to break, to help other people who have this addiction, and so she's now an activist in USA, in California.
Okay, for now, okay. That conversation can continue during the break. How about that? Okay. And the addiction may be opioids. Okay, I am the last poet on screen before we introduce Jean Ruda to finish this first set-in song. So I would like to read you 3 poems. And the first one is inspired by the morality and consciousness given to me by my mother. And so it is called One Among Many. I am firstborn son of my mother, who married my father. She bore 9 children. We bury our dead in plain pine boxes, thinly sewn into pockets of dirt, and send off our kin of a neighbor. We give of our muscle, our tenuous time, pride in our part played in the world. We work to live to love, and love to be. We walk this earth together. I toil day after day and nights, a simple laborer, simply making it, one among many. On tired knees and weakly legs, what burdens my back can't carry, weights my shoulders can no longer withstand, what gifts too rich in plenty for my small hands to hold. I share and share alike, one among many. Dream and dare, embrace the world, colors and tongues shape our lives, room for all round table. High times, low times, sometimes all we have, courage and trust, the bond between us. Between times, we do the best we can. For troubled waters, they rush and they swirl, rushing and swirling about us all. As we go upstream, we surge, surging and spawning. We are spilling ourselves, one among many. I march, I run, I sit, I come. Oh, let go now, dance. I am rhythm, tick a time, one among many. Relinquished of the vigor, the vitals of my spring, replenished in greater meaning. This is love, one among many. I am the grass root. Okay. And now, here's what I wrote. happened to me when I was working at this hospital, this mental hospital back in Pittsburgh, when we all got laid off, and I took this job and was low paid, and it was on the night shift, which is very depressing for me. And because today is also the anniversary of the Nazi invasion of Belgium, Holland, and France. This is called Truth in the Dark. I looked for the moon and didn't find her. She must have taken the night off. I slumped back down in the chair when I heard the side rail rattle. Nurse, hey nurse, hey nurse. Your call, ear-piercing, demanding holler. I'm not the nurse. She's down the hall. She makes a lot more money than me. She drives a decent car that starts on the first crank. En route to your room, I recite this script again and again. I started out in another occupation with lofty ideal aspirations. And I didn't plan to be an orderly, but something changed up on me. Remember the war? Now, it's not that I mind working in this mental hospital. Hey, that's funny. Mind, mental hospital, me, you, strong black coffee, anemic novellas. Night shift brings out the creatures of 12 West Geriatric. We are a whole different animal. You lie quietly, now recalling more vaguely with each passing night memories of youth, beautifully handsome, vital, effortless. Dignity remains the key feature on your swollen face. Though your eyes darting from ceiling to floor, you are not sure whether you are truly crazy or simply the victim of a cruel hoax. Tonight we refrain from talk and I scrub away at the excrement and urine. It's a silent movie, a depressing remake of Laurel and Hardy, lower lip lock vice-like between my teeth, my tight, tense, boiled, caught, tense body coils, resentment seething from my every pore. Have I forgotten I once laid helpless in cradle and crib, elbow to ankle in piss and shit, crying out in the night for assistance for a mother who could not be there? Have you forgotten those fearless, impatient, irrepressible days of young manhood? Your insatiable quest for immortality, perpetual motion in the blood-drenched trenches of Normandy? Surely these are feelings we can share with each other, some strength stronger than the decades that divide us, old man. Something never taught in your school or mine. Leaving the room, I gently pull the door ajar. Morning arrives and I wake you, behind both of us tired from the long night purgatory. In perfunctory manner, we trade hollow pleasantries, pretend to forget. You smell slightly of my cheap cologne, and I just a hint from your excrement. Our primitive bonding was how it was meant. I wash and dress you and wheel you before the TV. As I turn to leave, pausing, I give you a parting glance, and your eyes fix on mine, and you fight the urge to cry, and suddenly I do too. You're, you're wheeled to the dining hall, and I walk to the bus stop, both of us thinking, you in the wheelchair, me in the rain, how we use our time. It was just a bad night, that's all. And thank you. And now here's another one that has a lullaby in it. It's attributed to both Irish people and Black people, and probably attributed around the world. And I certainly used it because I like the cadence and the rhythm. That one of whom in my life was my grandfather, who taught me cadence and rhythm when I was a very young boy. And it's called One Brick Shy of a Load. I wish I could write poems, vague, like abstract, like whims, to present at wine and cheese parties, among you like-minded poets, so well schooled, so well dressed. Well, it's interesting, you always say. The truth today, I am incomplete. I am damaged goods trying to justify myself in misspelled words, in straight six time, and a tune in B minor. This is a fashion I cannot fit, a knack for shallow insights. So I go outside in the rain, spilling from the clouds, pouring from my head. Bring on Sundays, nights without howls, give me red flashes, and bring back purple passions. Today, so alone, unwanted in the scheme of things that make you whole, I stand here naked as an unpainted clown before these tourists who tell their children, stay away from that man. I wish I could bring us together, a nation of freedom fighters, and love of lovers is enough, so it's told, to conquer all with salvos of the healing kind. Shit, I'd be happy for a taste, a long last dance in your eyes, enough touch to sculpt in sand a stellar diamond dust circle around a harvest moon. I wish peace and justice for neighbors, alley cats, and stray dogs, the lost be found in dreams deferred, rescued and delivered to the promises of our mothers. And if your heart don't cheerful beat, mama gonna give you a song to sing. And if that tune don't fill you full, mama gonna mend your troubled soul. I wish presto pronto tutto sweet for a reverie of hallelujah chorus in straight high C, blues buried in Robeson's pain beneath the monument to humankind, bloody angels and dirty saints on our best day, one brick shy of a load. We're all going home now, all counted, gathered in a name, given to a life worth living. Death come calling from the fifth dimension, come to take us there. No words said, no acts required, no need to worry, no need to fuss. And if that thought don't make you still, mama gonna give you one that will. And if that dream don't come to pass, mama gonna make one ever last. I wish you wouldn't scold me so. I know I laugh and cry at all the wrong times. I wish I were a singer. A song says more than this poem will ever know. Okay. Well, thank you for that.
Powerful, Mo. Powerful.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, man, the truth is stronger than fiction. Okay, let's end this first round with a singer who's been with us before. And let's ask him to close us out with one of his songs. And his name is Gene Ruda. So come on board, Gene.
Hello, hang on. All kinds of stuff going on here. Okay, can you guys hear me okay? I'm doing a little sound check, baby. Little sound check. Okay. We started this this particular chapitra of the Angora Poets with long political discussion of maybe 30 minutes while we were waiting for everybody. And we're in this, I discovered this under COVID thing, this under coverture thing. It happened in Venezuela just a few days ago. It's just sitting underneath everything, but it is so Bay of Pigs ugly. It's just killing me. I wrote a poem a few months ago called Fracas Crackus. And I'm going to sing this poem because I made it into a song because I'm a songwriter, but I made it into a poem. I made this poem into a song, but I'm going to really try to focus on the words. I am so humbled by all of you. Thank you so much the spoken word. And your last words, Mo, about what song does is just an arrow in me right now as I try to express all the enormity of thought that happens in a life that has experienced now 3 generations of the same shit, man. And the memory and the history, Teddy Roosevelt, John Kennedy, Bay of Pigs. And here we are once again. Keep them separated. Sadly separated into boxes. The leavers, the believers. The leaders, frack the bleeders. The Roxys and the proxies. Hugo Vinazola imprints Bolivar. Quasi-Maduro victor to the peoples. Jeepers creepers, Guido Gastro creepers. Where'd you get the Grim Reaper? Philosophracus in Caracas. Natural gas, no religion. We don't need no stinking badges. Johnny's got a gun. Johnny's got a gun. Johnny's got imagination. Imagine there's no nation. Yanni was a friend of mine, a kindly displaced basic dude. A black god rebel walked the line, past Cheese and Chavez, gratitude. Who off to Paris made his way to find a new brand new day job, to make his mark, to pay to play the exiled look, an expat mob. Sadly separated into boxes. Believers, the believers, the leaders, frack the bleeders, the Roxys and the proxies. And Hugo Vinazola imprints Bolivar, Quasi-Maduro victor to the peoples, Jeepers creepers, Guido Gastro creepers. Where'd you get them Grim Reapers? Philosophracus in Caracas, natural gas, no religion. We don't need no stinking badges. Johnny's got a gun, Johnny's got a gun, Johnny's got imagination. Imagine there's no nation. Fracas.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, that'll take us out of this first round and invite you to come back and sing again in the second round. Thank you, Gene. And want to thank everybody who's participated so far in this first round.
Thank you.
This was you were right, Gene. This is some deep diving shit.
Yeah, word.
This ain't the Gong Show, brother.
I love his T-shirt. It's pretty dope. And I eat those kind bars sometimes. That's a dope T-shirt.
All right.
We have a new guest, by the way, Carla.
Yeah, I see her. So hello, Carla Drysdale. Okay. So I presume you're going to present for us when we go back on? No.
Am I unmuted?
Yeah, I just unmuted you.
Okay, great. Sorry, when should I?
Well, I'll call you in the second round simply to present, do your poetry for us.
Okay, darling, when is that? Because I haven't.
Well, I don't have a fixed time, darling. I simply call people in a seeming good order of which they're here, you know.
I hear you.
Okay. Yeah.
Great
I'm not
great
good
to
at
see everybody.
Good to see you again.
And peace out.
Okay. So anyway, why don't we take a breath for a minute, and anybody want to chat or ask, anyone want to chat, go ahead with it.
Gene, where can I get that T-shirt, man? Did the company send it to you?
That's a really interesting story, actually. The founder of Kind is a friend of mine named Daniel.
Wow.
Daniel is his father. We share the we share fatherhood because both of our fathers were Holocaust survivors. And he spent his after graduating from law school, this guy, Daniel, the founder of Kind Bar, he decided during the first Intifada, because his father had, after the war, my father was Parisian, I live in Paris, my father was a Parisian survivor. His father went to Israel, and the Intifada happened, and he had gone to high school, college in the US, law school in the US, but he felt obligated to go back home, and he ended up cutting a deal to trade some Lebanese and other almonds and nuts and stuff underground, underneath the whole Intifada, like completely going like under the bombs and all the rockets and everything, and just cutting deals with real people. These people have been trading for a long time. So he just tapped into that whole really sort of Semitic trading heritage, and that's what this. And he started this company, Peace.
Wow, that's a piece of history.
Started out with Kind Bar. So his whole idea is, and it's an amazing story. But what they do is they go into the most freaking unbelievable war-torn places in the world and work with people to just get stuff done, people trading, eating. It's an incredible group, and I'm so proud to wear this shirt and to know Daniel and what they're about.
Okay. Wow.
Nice.
That's good to know. Okay. Anybody else have any comments or something to say? I mean, the floor is open. Well, all right. So the cat's got you. Yes.
Let me say this to you, man. And I'm the kind of dude that always thinking about groups, community, collectives. You do know you're doing us a great service. You and Mo, by putting this on, man. You're creating community and you're keeping it going.
Well, I just want to say thank you, and thank everybody. Tell you the truth, because I do know it's a we thing. And you're part of it, and everybody's part of it. And as I have mentioned time and again since I launched Angora Poets in Paris, where I now live, 3 years ago, that I was not interested in just an open stage. There are plenty of them, and they are very well liked and very well attended. I was interested in poets and other artists who had showed some craft work, and interested in bringing them on, whether they were young or old, published or unpublished. I was also very not interested in people trying to pull rank. because I think there are so many gifted writers among us, and on any given night, someone by attitude could do that, and I don't dig it because that's a sign of either self-restraint or real humility. And the other thing that was in my vision is I consciously set out to invite people from different nations and cultures and backgrounds and different languages to participate. And so we quickly went from Angora Poets to Angora Poets World Cafe. So that might account for people outside of the United States and France who participate with us. And so, so thank you, and everybody. Thank everybody, really.
Hmm. No doubt.
Yeah.
Appreciate hearing that history, Mo. And one thing I hate seeing in any kind of artist or performer, man, is being big-headed and it's all about me. Yeah, I hate seeing that, man. I feel you.
Yeah, I mean, it can happen. I mean, sometimes a poet can show up, he or she, and just be the light of the night, just by virtue of the quality of their work, and that is it's organic and it's just quite acceptable. So I differentiate, from people just simply having something to present, and all of a sudden they capture, perhaps more than others, response, gratitude, and respect. But I know what you're saying because having gone to, having lived in New York and all, I've met a lot of poets who got head bigger than the borough they live in. And they're good poets, but there's a thing there like if my rep ain't here, if my credit ain't here, if who I know ain't here, and I got tired of it. Even though I respected their work, I just got goddamn tired of it. Like a certain city was the center of the world, even though I love certain cities. So
I,
that's what drove me in that direction.
a lot of this resonates back here in Abu Dhabi with Rooftop Rhythms. Like when we started, there was a saying that we kept repeating the first couple of years that we started. It was check your ego at the door. Because and we especially made this very clear to slam competitors because that's when the me factor can get a little toxic.
Yeah.
And and it's certainly it can certainly turn tribal if if it's left unchecked. So I really relate to what Mo said about the whole what he said, what he talked about New York and whatnot. And I really appreciate really appreciate what you had to say about that.
Yeah, and having said that, I love New York and love to attend readings, and I'm a featured reading and a reader in a couple places in New York, and I was getting ready to launch a dual project with recently departed Steve Delashinsky, and and if I ever publish some of the comments that came out of his mouth after some of the readings, some people would be duly pissed, which was a sign to me to just keep it at the door, just keep it at the door.
Muhammad, I see what you're saying, bro, because Rockford, the city where I'm from here in Illinois, has a very toxic slam poetry community to the point where I won't even participate. Yeah.
And Mo, I was glad to hear you say all that because that's why, there's a tradition, John Clifton's tradition. I think you're the one that's carrying it on because John never had stars. He had 3 poets and he had anybody who could write poetry coming up. If you remember,
I do, and I do remember though that John selected who he considered were poets, and that's why his series went on, so popularly for so long. And there were different voices, different complexions, different voices, different styles. But he was in tune long enough. If you live long enough and you don't die, you get an eye and an ear for people young and old, published and unpublished, who can do their thing. And John was certainly one of them. So yeah, good for bringing him up. Yeah.
And then Mo, also, so when these poets have these big hits, right? Or maybe they've reached some type of level or fame. That's what the features are for. So sometimes I don't think poets even understand that. I mean, when you reach that feature level, that's to be respected. But
yeah.
also know that it takes humbleness even to reach that type of level to be a feature poet anywhere.
Yeah.
And there's a poet. He goes. I forgot what his name was, but this guy comes out once in a blue moon. He's a very, very humble dude, but the one time he decides to participate in the slam, it's a triple 10 on the scoreboard, and he puts us all we've been competing back to back month consecutively, and he puts us all to the corner, and he won 2 consecutive Grand Slams back to back, to year 2017 and year 2018, and never in all the times that I've interacted with him has he even said, "I want to slam." Like he is a very, very humble dude, but man, when he decides, "Yo, I want to slam," he takes over. And I wish a lot of people could, I wish people could learn from that humility. I'll try to bring him on board next week. I'm gonna
try. I mean, 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had that lovely sister from London, S.C. Yankee, who's won several competitions, spoken word. Some of you were on board when she read. And I've had private conversations with her, both physically in Paris, before the lockdown, and since then, online. Now, there's a woman who raps, raps American style with her Jamaican British heritage. And she's won a lot of competitions, and she's got a huge amount of followers. And I remember when I said, Essie, I want you back on board with Angora Poets, girl, because we need you. You're just so good. And she said, I'll be glad to come on, and let me know my time so I don't encroach on other people. And you hear that? So I don't encroach on other people. And because once she gets going, she's so popular, it would be easier to just say, keep going, keep going. And I didn't have that in mind, but without even having to say that, she simply said, and let me know about my time so I don't encroach on other people.
Yeah.
And so, there's a growing number of people like that after the whole slam sensation leveled out, didn't bottom out, but leveled out, where we're a large community of people. And on some nights, some of us are better than others, and that's okay, because that's just the way it is, right? So that's cool. And
I want to say something. I listen to you, but I just go on my bed. When I put off the video, I'm still here, I listen, but I'm just lying down because I'm so fucking exhausted, I sleep 4 hours by night since the fucking lockdown. That's why.
Okay.
But I love listening to other people. I am not just for myself, myself. I'm fed up. And I don't like to see my face because I think I'm fucking getting old. So I have a narcissist crisis.
Well,
I'm not leaving them here,
Well, you're not the only one on this screen that's getting older, darling.
I know, yeah.
What did Frank Sinatra say? Like vintage wine. All right. So I want to welcome latecomer. I hope he knows what day it is. How you doing, Michael Rothenberg? How you doing, Michael? Okay.
Hey, Mike, you're gonna have to unmute you. Oh, yeah.
He's unmuted.
Yeah, I was sworn yesterday was today.
The lockdown will do that.
Today is today, Michael.
Today is today.
Yeah. There's
So
some cognitive therapy for you.
What happened to yesterday? But no, actually, and I would have come here earlier, but I had so many things happening all at once.
Cool.
Hello, everybody.
Well, you're welcome now. And I think maybe this is a good time to start the second round. Could y'all get ready to prepare mentally or paper wise what you wish to present for us? And again, um, I need to say again that if I intend to read something that goes 10 and 12 and 15 minutes long, this is not my place to do it. Okay, so if you catch my drift on that, simply because most people are reading two and three pieces, various amounts of time, and it seems to be a good rhythm, a good sequence, and a good cadence like that, and that's why I mention it because I don't need to be reading the Great American Novel when I'm sharing the screen with other people qualified to read the Great American Novel. There we go. Okay. All right. And one last thing I wanted to say was, yeah, there are featured poets. And one thing that we celebrate in Angora Poets is virtually everybody we have presented over the 3 years has in their time been a featured poet, okay, by virtue of their artistic quality. So that's what's very satisfactory about the Angoras. And with that, I'm looking for Bill Strangmeyer to kick off our second round. Are you ready to do that, Bill?
Yeah.
Okay, Jazzy.
Jazzy.
Give it to us, Jazzy.
Jersey. Okay, this is called A Tale from the Locker. I cannot tell you how serene the ocean was before the scene of monstrous goblins eating fish without a fork, without a dish. The fishermen were all aghast to see the horror had not passed. The mermaids wept departure day. They had been happy, blithe and gay. The waves and atolls all around washed not the knives left on the ground. The captain hollered to the crew, gaze not on this, whate'er ye do. I still recall the sight I saw, the scales, the grins, the frightful claw. The fear of fishing stalks them still. They fear the sea, they fear a chill. A goblin tried to strike me dead. I dined that night upon its head. For I'm no sailor and I fear no deep. I wade the seas, own Davy's Keep. As long as fear and seas persist, I keep my marbles in my fist. The way to play the beasts and fools is written down in my book of rules. I'm never seen crawling the easier path. I keep my soul open and honor my wrath. The goblins and goosebumps will not rule the day, for my fists and my hounds will still keep them at bay. I swirl with the fishes, the sharks I bolt down, for by eating their teeth I know I'll never drown. So if you've a mind to come visit my sea, I serve a great dinner, I'm sure you'll agree. You're muted, Mo.
And I forget sign language. God damn it all. Do you have a smoke signal? Smoke signal. Do you have a second one to follow that?
I have two very, very short ones.
Go with it, Billy.
Okay. An hour in an epic, all in a row. An old man looks at the girl and she snickers, not knowing his thoughts, but she's right, because he has renounced and believes in his death, and is no more immortal than any old fake in a political lie, worn like a cloak to his hanging in a porno museum by the neck until lame and ejected and dead.
Ooh.
Okay. An evening's reading and dreams. With a military catalog in front of me, I feel like laughing. It's the sudden empty pain where I breathe. But I know it's lack of experience, just a trick to make pacifists of us, unable to face the beauty of the war into which we are hardening, not cheapening, the world. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Billy. Thank you. And next to you on screen, I'd like to call up Prince A. McNally. Are you ready to come back to us, Prince?
I was wondering, well, I don't know where she is now, but I was going to defer to Carla, but it appears that she's disappeared, so I guess.
Okay. Well, why don't we go with you? And when Carla comes back, she's on, you know.
Okay, give me a second here. Huh. Okay, what are we gonna do here? Okay. This
And
piece is
could we,
called.
I'm
I'm
sorry,
sorry.
and could we follow you with Roxanne? That's all. Could we follow you with Roxanne? Thank you.
Okay. This piece is called Bag Lady. They say she's a hoarder of sorts,
Mm,
simply because she cherishes her past, holding on to her precious memories as if they were worldly possessions, slowly lugging them around in the bags beneath her weary eyes that never seem to stop crying. Her cheeks remain salt-stained, a trail of dry and crusty tears, for her eyes have witnessed so much pain and sorrow. And thus she dons a pair of battered shades, shielding her eyes not from the sun, but from the ghostly demons that constantly haunt her. From her past life, a privilege where the streets are paved in golden opportunities and silver spoons. It's hard to believe this bag lady was once a loving member of a prominent family, and yet she finds herself living on the streets, seemingly invisible to the eyes of a society that has long discarded her. She is but a mere outcast on the outside looking in. Some days you may find her standing in the middle of Grand Central Station, her hands desperately reaching out to passers-by, begging for social change. You may even find her sifting through filthy garbage bins in search of discarded food, a little compassion in the life she once knew. In peace.
wow. Wow. You have another one to come on that one? You have the charm?
The charm, the charm. I'll go with what's right in front of me. Okay, let's go. This piece is called After. Launched from the cages of urban rooftops, homing pigeons eagerly chase the morning sunrise, soaring through the mist of unfolding skies, racing against the notion of time ever fleeting to places unabound, unknown, and unseen. And yet, they wing it through this life in spite of its spontaneous unraveling, somehow surviving the aerial pursuit of preying predators, persevering through the ominous threat of impending storms, only to return home to a gilded cage that erases the sky that frees them. Which begs the question, why are homing pigeons so eager to fly home to their captors? If you think about it, homing pigeons are the perfect metaphor for battered women. Because regardless of all the hell they may go through, they somehow still feel compelled to return home to their tormentors, to their oppressors, and or their lovers. Even after all the yelling and fighting, after all the fear, misery, and humiliation, after all the rage, berating, and countless beatings raining down upon their helpless bodies from clouds of clenched fists and angry feet that stomp and kick until they're rendered unconscious, after all the busted lips, blackened eyes, and broken noses, after all those nights of waiting alone in the emergency room, after all the embarrassing moments and pain suffered due to his insobriety, due to his insecurity, due to his narcissistic misogyny. After all the pleading from friends and family to just up and leave him before he kills you. And yet, their pain and fear succumbs to the fluidity of his liquid-like words, to his glowing charm, to his empty promises and pseudo-apologies. Baby, I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you. But you made me so angry, I just couldn't help myself. just come home and I promise you I will never hurt you again. Baby, you know how much I love you. And like the miracle of those homing pigeons flying through the fury of a storm, these battered women somehow still return home. In peace.
Uh, yeah, ain't that the truth in poetry? Yes, sir. Okay, so thank you very much, Prince.
Thank you.
And I have asked Roxanne to come on next. And after Roxanne, I would like to invite Isabel to follow Roxanne.
We're in a cave, chained together with others facing the wall. It's much like the tunnel we've just come through, only darker and danker. Water oozes, trickles down along the crevices and cascades across the stones, dripping into a puddle at our feet. Drip, drip, drip. I long to take a sip, but the harness around my neck prevents my lips from reaching the cool, refreshing water. Oops, hang on. Technical difficulties. The clouds pass and we feel the sunlight at our backs. And I realize it's still day. I think we've been sleeping 1 hour, 2 hours, maybe, or maybe it's been days. The silhouettes of the trees dance before us on the wall. We try to face the light, but are quickly reminded of our chains, choked by the harness. Footsteps approach. The guards, we presume. Maybe it's mealtime. As we anxiously wait, their voices ignite into a heated quarrel. The silhouettes of raised fists and angry words, bobbing heads with wagging tongues loom across the wall, attached to long bodies stretched to continue across the ground. As I watch in fascination, my father whispers to me that what we are seeing is only an illusion. In fact, it is still night. Our captors have lit a fire behind us, and one of them is telling a story with flat shadow puppets made from the thin strips of buffalo leather, like the kind they make in Indonesia. We are watching only a Wayang Puro show that the dalang, or puppeteer, manipulates with his puppets. We hear only one voice, the voice of the dalang, who is speaking all the parts. Dad has seen this show before.
I'll bet he has. Do you have one to follow that, Roxanne?
Oh, gee, another one. Okay, hang on.
Okay.
I wasn't prepared to do two, sorry. The trees are lush with greenness. We take our time going down the dark, gray, pebbled concrete steps to the path. The steps are long and shallow. Each step is bound by a beam of wood, weathered gray, the color of slate to match the concrete. It's like a waltz. Only on the third beat, we drop down to the next step and start across again. 1, 2, drop. 1, 2, drop. Sometimes I just hop down the incline that used to hold the railing while my dad holds my hand. Dad is smoking his pipe, alternately puffing and talking. He takes a puff as he considers my words and another as he ponders his response. I imagine his mind brewing the mixture of my words with his thoughts in his little furnace while the smoke rises and drifts above the pipe. I also know that our thoughts are hard to pin down into words, as a smoke that too quickly dissipates into the air. And then he withdraws the pipe and speaks. Today's topic is the fable of Aristophanes and the power of love. Occasionally, he will interrupt our discourse, stopping to shake out his pipe over the missing railing, strewing the dark stained, still damp shards into the twisted vines. Dad reaches into his pocket for his pouch of Jamaica rum. As he opens it, I am greeted with its pungent, sweet fragrance. I inhale the swoon, off somewhere inhabited by swashbuckling pirates and rainbow-colored parrots. Now, standing on deck, donning a black cat with a trailing white plume, I check my leathered starboard for its sword as a one-eyed pirate with a rotten yellow teeth stares me down. Fee, fi, fo, fum, yo, ho, ho, and a bottle of rum. We clank the overflowing tankards together as we run. Up and down the mast we fly, gulping down mass quantities of lye, reciting drunken ballads. A mother's honor is challenged. A fistfight breaks out and is met with masterful swordplay. I thrust my imaginary sword at Dad. He sidesteps me as he carefully refills his pipe, gently pressing the tobacco into the bowl of the pipe with a push of his finger.
All right, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Hey, prose is welcome. All right. Can can we hear from Isabel? Isabel Oyan, do it
Okay, okay. So if you like, I can finish the poem I started, and
Okay,
and then make a little one in French
please do.
with images.
Please do.
Okay. So there I was, the bright slim crescent of the new moon, glitter, shimmer, and so close shines the evening star. Every time that she gets so close to the moon, I know my lover will come tomorrow to take me on his unicorn through the universe for an endless valse over the purple book of life. So high, hidden forever by the veils of the night in the secret of the time. He whispers promises in my ear to erase all poison from my soul, all phantoms from my memories. A big love resounds, the drums of joy beat the heat of the naked hearts. The eyes of all humans shine like stars in the recovery of a future. Okay, so now I'll give you
Thank you.
a little French poem with some images, some drawing I did during the lockdown, and something else.
Okay, can you give us a brief explanation of the poem? Briefly, sommaire.
The French one?
Oui, un sommaire de le poème, en bref.
Which one, the English or the French?
No, the one you are going to read, so that we Anglophones have an idea.
Well, I wrote it from the lockdown. It's talking about the lockdown and the situation now.
Okay, thank you.
That's all new stuff, So, Wuhan, Wuhan, Wuhan. Ça va passer, ça passe, comme tout lasse et tout passe. Ça va casser, ça casse, comme tout passe et tout casse. Ça va se masser, comme toute masse au passé. Ça va se tasser. Wuhan, Wuhan, Wuhan. Comme tout tas s'est sauté dans un tas de silence, dans un tas de mots, dans un tas de morts. On en parlera au passé, et puis on oubliera. Et la poussière du temps effacera les traces et les larmes. Dans la naste, un mauvais souvenir, une impression d'effroi, un oiseau aux abois. Les ailes prises au piège s'agitent puis trépassent. C'est l'oiseau de la liberté. Regarde l'ombre de son vol s'efface dans le ciel, le brouillard de l'avenir. On en a pris la perpète. Les CRS nassent. Nous sommes comme des petits poissons qui frétillent et se glissent dans les trous des nuages, qui se ramassent en sombre et prédisent l'orage. That's it, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Wow. And Isabelle, tu es la première artiste qui présente image graphique. You know, you're the first person to present a visual image for us. So thanks for breaking the ice on that. Merci pour faire la première.
Ok.
Artiste visuel. Merci beaucoup. Voilà. Et le thème est très mélancolie. Okay. So I would like I would like to invite on now Christopher, followed by Michael Rothenberg. Can we do that? Chris and Michael.
That was a very visual experience. I hadn't quite, like you said, Mo, I hadn't quite experienced that here on Angora. But hey, man, if you like it, I love it.
Yeah.
As we say here in the States, if you like it, I love it.
All right.
This is entitled "She Packs Me in Her Luggage," and I may have shared this here with this particular audience, maybe not, but I try to keep my chops up when I'm doing my spoken word thing, and this is one of the pieces that helps me do that. I'm familiar to her, warm, safe, gentle, and understanding, a voice calming, a wise soul who listens beyond what is shared on the surface. I'm a warm blanket in her coldest nights. I'm a hot cup of green tea in the times where she feels most sad and vulnerable. So she packs me in her luggage when she travels, poems of mine that define her life and help her get through things, or pieces of my literature that makes her smile and inspire her to dream. She loves Sacred Woman. She packs that poem in her luggage more than any other piece of mine. She is empowered by that poem. It describes to her just how sacred she is, how important she is, how beautiful she is. I am a poet. I met her at a bookstore as one of her all-time favorites. She dreams too of meeting her soulmate in a bookstore inside a cafe while jazz is playing lightly. She's romantic just the same. She'll hum some of the poem and call on my name saying, yeah, Christopher, yeah, man. Found on knotted napkins and college ruled paper consistently in her purple suitcase as she likes poetry. She approached me personally after a poetry reading and told me the poem was genius, that it captures her love for poetry and why she is held captive by the pictures I paint in that poem. She will even come to a poetry reading just to hear that poem. She leaves right after I am done with a huge smile on her face. She has her own version of I Am a Poet. She wrote it on a plane heading back to Toronto, Canada, where she first heard my version. Hers rocks. It is just as much hip hop and bebop as mine is. Hip hop and bebop as mine is, composed of the strongest visuals and prophetic lines. I like her version better. She sent it to me as an attachment to my email address. Man, inspired pieces are the best. She packs me in her luggage, especially my slam poem, Word Warrior. She's in love with the words syllable sorcerer. She's magnetized by the look in my eyes when I'm possessed by the flow of that poetic rhyme. She requested time after time after time after time. When she's an old woman and she was all out of frequent flyer miles, compiled in an old dresser will be a book she put together for me. Someone will find it and read it at her funeral. And I will live on for eternity because she found it in her heart to love my poetry. She packs me in her luggage. Thanks.
You got to follow.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, I'll do this piece. This is another piece that keeps me on my toes as you know what? I'll do this. I'm feeling revolutionary today, and this is inspired by the political conversation we had earlier today before they got started. We need powerful, empowering poetry. Poetry that promotes positivity. Poetry that encourages people to progress. Poetry that gives birth to revolution. We need poetry that puts on black berets, black dashikis, black pants, and black boots. Poetry that rises and runs through oppressor to opposes rendering racism and sexism. Poetry that gives birth to revolution. We need poetry that challenges the boys in blue. Poetry that kicks butt. We sit back and say, hey, hey, get them, poetry. Poetry that gives birth to revolution. Black folk need poetry that gauges the grime in the ghetto. Poetry that gathers gutless men, graceless women, and guiltless children to guide them back to greatness. Poetry that disintegrates crack and evaporates alcohol so that we don't continue to fall into destruction. Poetry that gives birth to revolution. This world needs poetry that puts an end to poverty, to starvation, to homelessness, to AIDS, to cancer, to dehumanization, to mass incarceration, to gentrification, to prison privatization, to policing children in our systems of education, to unjust detention, to criminalization of those seeking immigration, to death during migration, to the horrible border situation. Poetry that gives birth to revolution. And that's that piece.
Yeah, we need it. You know, we need it. We need it. What did Nina Simone say? Who can quote what Nina said in times like these? Somebody fill that quote out more precisely. They asked Nina, you know, why are you saying things socially and politically from the stage, Nina, when you have a huge following that just likes the way you do your songs? And then she is quoted as saying something about, in times like this, there is nothing else but to be political. And she continued with her love songs and her blues songs, but she recognized what was going on in the larger world around her. So good. So we asked, thank you. And we asked Michael Rothenberg to follow you. Michael?
Hey, this is one poem, but it's like 4 passages. It's not long, but is that okay? It's not long. I can't hear you.
There's not a prohibition against long poems. There's simply an idea that if we do a real long poem, maybe that'll consume most of my time in that particular presentation. That's all. No prohibition against long poetry.
But if it's,
I don't need to do 25 pages of poetry in one read. That's all.
It's not that. I just want to make
go with it, Michael.
Okay. It's a piece that I just finished after working on for many years. Seated at the grand black piano bar, shirt unbuttoned to the navel, father eats the brains of his daughter. Her head placed erect on a fine silver platter, cheeks pink and still wide eyes lashed dark with mascara. She has been garnished with parsley sprigs and carrot flowers. Belly full of his daughter's love and whiskey, he has mistaken his child for Salome. On the balcony, the child's mother suns herself, salved from hip to smooth bare feet, intoxicated with a peeling skin condition. She gossips with friends over the telephone, dotes on her daughter's intelligent beauty, delicate charcoal sketches of eyes, lashes, and lips. Sonia is the news. In our theater, curtains drawn, we wore ornaments of temple. The audience, in their whiskers and blue iridescent gowns, chink of their necklaces, applauded with the lean of their curious ears. And when you had me, a thorn between your teeth, wilting in your willowed pout, begging for new magazines, you turned the scissors on yourself. Movie stars leaked from your wrist. We made our sex with scissors and glue. We made each other masks. We wore the masks to bed. Morning, Sonia in her nightgown fingers the chair's patterned coverlet. Tired of heroes and tattoos, she removes from the stereo the record of genetic codes. A naked shoreline at her door. She thinks messages should mean more. She thinks we should listen to the girl pressing ocean lips to her ear, the calm, calcified message against her ear. Morning, the landlord comes, mops the hall, A night of fingerprints dusted from her bolted door, holding the corner of her blanket, cauterized against her sucking cheeks. Sonia studies a fly caught in the screen, thinks of the telegram sent to survivors, like the recipient of a tumor, wonders if the doctor cares. When she hit the pavement, she broke the law. They couldn't put her back together. The police, notified before the collapse, issued a bulletin. Female old enough for suicide, dressed in scars. The net was folded in the station when calls came in about the street. Scars bounced on the pavement, rolled under the bumper of a parked car, retrieved by a child who ran off with a toy. They couldn't put her back together. When demolition arrived in asbestos, her skull was still intact. It was rumored her mind was wired to go off. Harry, one of them said, there's enough charge left. They couldn't put her back together.
Ooh, okay. Yeah. Did you know this person, Michael?
Actually, yeah, it's a story about the piece. Yeah, this is part of it, right? And it's about 12 pieces altogether. And I wrote this in 1973. And I put it in an envelope. It was my first girlfriend. She committed suicide.
Oof.
And I wrote it, I put it in an envelope, and I couldn't deal with it for my whole life. But I sent my papers off to library for archives and stuff like that. But I never sent this in. And then this past week, it was sitting on my shelf, and I said, Michael McClure, friend, just passed away. And I don't remember a time when I didn't know Michael. And I kind of guess I was thinking to myself, I'd like to remember who I was before I knew him. And I thought, oh, that poem. And I went to that envelope for the first time. I mean, I was scared of the envelope. I didn't want to look at it. I thought they would hurt me. And I just took it out. And I pulled it out and I started fixing it up and cleaning it up. And so this is the first.
That's an act of courage. That's an act of courage.
It was
Thank
terrifying.
you. And appreciate you sharing that. Do you have a second piece for us?
That's like 4 sections. I have, there's the rest of it, but I mean, that's enough for me. I mean,
all right.
I didn't want to take too much time. That was actually 4 sections.
Well, okay. Actually, that was not too much time. Anyway, I want to thank you then and congratulate you on your courage, your heartfelt courage for bringing that out and reading it.
Thank you for letting me read it.
Okay.
Thank you, Michael.
Mo, you muted yourself, my brother.
Yeah, that's right. Physically challenged over here. We have Mo. You haven't read a second time, and nor has Jane Spoken Word read a second time. Jean needs to come on a second time. So among the 3 of you, do you feel ready to read now, Mo?
Yep. Oh, I'm happy to read.
I would also be willing to read a second.
And Jack, I'm sorry, and you're see, there we go. I'm challenged, and Jack needs to come up and read a second time. Excuse me for my oversight. Okay.
I'm used to that, Mo.
Jab.
Let's shoot the piano player.
Not by you. I'm speaking generally.
Who loves you, baby? Okay, Mo, you're on.
Okay. So I'll probably be reading one piece, namely because I just want to give this piece a little background just to explain where it came from. I was invited to a gathering for basically where would be talking about, but like having different palettes of food. It was hosted at a very prestigious restaurant, and they wanted poets to come on board to, write poetry about food and how it resonates in their culture. Being a kid that was raised in Abu Dhabi, where basically it's a melting pot for a lot of cultures, I grew up listening to all these bickering and arguments about where the certain dishes came from. No, it came from India first. No, it came from Arab or Palestine first. No, it came from this. So, meanwhile, I'm a simple man. I just appreciate food. I don't really care where it comes from. But so this poem is called "What Food Tastes Like Home." In the coming dawn, Cairo will be booming with the call to prayer. Men will be returning from the house of God, getting ready for the day. One man in particular heaves willpower and stride as he pushes a food cart across Omar bin Khattab Street. He has a tune about to boom from his lips, and it's nothing like music, but it complements the wind anyway. Fool! Fool is fava beans. It's the Arabic word for fava beans. A plate full of fool, stacked with the right amount of condiments, will have you rock in soul power and confidence like your spirit dynamite. The people of the Mediterranean Sea called it the poor man's meat, beating like the beans till it was soft enough to resemble a soul. Sometimes they throw a bowl of lentils in it just because they can. Sometimes chickpeas, maybe because they wanted to feel like they were back on the pilgrimage again. I wanted to talk about fatir mishalter and how it makes your body scream at diabetes and pancreatic speak, going, "Come fight me, bro! Come fight me, bro!" Sometimes I think of it as the plates Egyptians confined in on a bad month, maybe even a bad day. There's never a wrong time for mishalter. I don't care what your cardiologist has to say. I wanted to talk about Kushari and her nirvana, but I can't do that without thinking of her cousin Majaddara. I grew up in the Emirates, and I went to school with Palestinians, Syrians, Sudanese, Pakistanis, and Indians. So believe me when I tell you I know what civilizations taste like. I've eaten food from each of their ovens, often barehanded too. When I came here, I wanted to talk about food from my country, but I couldn't tell you which one of them tasted like home. You see, when I say Egypt, I think of a black woman from Sudan, the Nubians of Kush, the Assyrians, Macedonians, the Persians, the Arabs, the Jews, the Greek, and the Ottoman Empire. The range of taste, palates, and veins are too great to see Egypt being a vestige of civilization left at the tip of the Nile. So I couldn't tell you which food tasted like home, because Masakhan, biryani, and dal, fatoush taste just as good. But I'll give it a try anyway. Last week I went back home early from work, a blessing and a curse, because you know the food won't be quite ready yet. I knew immediately what Mom was making, not by the smell of the kitchen, but by the way her shoulders shrank. In fact, I imagined they shrank the way grandmothers did. Cutting zucchinis reminded her too much of grandmother. She saw her in the vegetable soup she made and cried just enough to remember home. So.
Hey man, I'm hungry.
Tastes like it. Tastes like it. Yeah.
I'm hungry, man. And you remind me when I was over there in the Near East, and it is the Near East. It's a big East. So when I was in Turkey and Palestine and places like that, that is the Near East. It's on the map. People would argue over who had the best olives, and between the Palestinians and the Israelis, who had the best hummus. And I liked it. I just went, what do I know? Just give it to me, man. Let me eat it. And then I know growing up too that there's always arguments between who makes the best sauce of tomato, Sicilians or Neapolitans, people from Napoli, and they fight all the time in a friendly. And then in New York, who makes the best beans, the Puerto Ricans or the Dominicans. So that's a great kind of rivalry because it all ends up feeling good in your stomach, you know? So there you go. All right. So somebody was to follow you, and I forget who it was. Then I would like to ask Jack Cooper to come on, followed by Jane Spoken Word.
This is obscurely from Michael Rothenberg. It's called Dead Shift. Forgotten today will be tomorrow. Not exactly immortality sought. No believer, one can still be fooled. Confront the other across a broad spectrum, invisible either side, infrared to ultraviolet, thus shift bearing away. Neither unseen nor seeing disappear, eventually vanish, commence unaware. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Dedications are cool.
So, yeah, so I, don't generally, I actually have a political poem here, which is, if anyone remembers Pogo.
Yeah, Pogo had a moral and social.
Yeah, okay. So in fact, the title is "The Enemy is U.S." America is a fiction, a name, not even a name. It's a nominal, fill in the blank, a drop-down menu item, a prompt, a prospectus, a bill of sale. We no longer live here. We park our assets, those undeposited in the Bahamas. We visit like a tourist attraction, least favorite. Call this our pied-à-terre. Wealth intoxicates. The idea, concept, rush. The drug, how much you take, get off on yours? And tax-free? I hope so. It ought to be. You owe, you pay. Owe me, pay me. I owe you. Let cost in effect be arbiters of truth, and devil take hindmost, more if any left. We are everything we make away with. What's just enough, which means plenty for me.
Wow. All right.
Ay, 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 ay.
Yeah. Wow. Well, it's the first time I've heard you do a political poem.
Yeah.
And man, that kills it, man. You said it right out of the park on that one.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, or 3 pitches, 3 strikes, you're out, baby.
Yeah, no, I like the first pitch. Yeah, the first pitch.
Yeah. Right down the middle, babe.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
Radio ball. You remember that? You can hear it, you can't
Dare
see
me, dare me.
Sandy Koufax in the radio ball. All right. Okay, so now if we could, do you have another one, Jack? I didn't mean to cut anybody off.
I could actually give you a quick,
All right.
very short one, which,
Okay.
as it happens, I wrote today.
Okay.
It's called Idea. My mind starts at the sound or sight of a word. I feel it leap like a fish to bait, some way knowing why, though I have no idea.
All right. Okay, thank you, Jack.
Me for tonight.
No.
It was nice.
Um,
Nice.
so
Yes, Mo.
yeah, Mo, I'm about to make you host because I gotta hop out. You know, because it's getting late. But hey, the room will continue as always.
Yes, the room will continue.
Yeah.
Mo.
Everybody give Mo.
Thank you, Mo.
Everybody give Mo a big thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
All right, man.
Thank you, Mo.
Thanks, Mo. Thanks, Mo.
Merci, Mo.
Thanks, Mo.
All right. All right. It was a pleasure being with all of you, and I'll see you guys next week.
And it was a pleasure hearing your creative work as well as your technical savvy, Mo. So thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you. Thank
I'm gonna have dinner now, Mo.
Yeah, really. Got me hungry, Mo.
you. All right. See you later, guys.
All right. Well, Mo's gone, but we're on. And so I'd like to call up again someone who is and I want you, Claire Andriani from Paris. Now, Claire, you get yourself